Hi everybody, Julie the Whippy Chick here again, and today we're going to do a tutorial and it's going to be on the V-stitch. V is in Victor, victory, V. I'm using a 6mm hook today because I want my stitches to be nice and big so it's easy for you to see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with a chain of 10. What I'm looking for is an even number. So I'm going to chain up 10, and then after I get to my chain 10, I'm going to add 2. So I know what you're thinking, why don't you just say 12? Well, the reason I don't just say 12 is because the last 2 stitches are going to be counting as my first double crochet. So here's 11, 12. So 11 and 12 are counting as my first double crochet. Okay, I am going to skip the first stitch after that. So I'm really working into the 4th stitch from the hook. And that's where I'm going to start my first V. Okay, so we're going to do a double crochet into that 4th chain. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a double crochet right back into that same stitch. And that's what's going to create our V. Now in between each V, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip 1 and we're going to do another V-stitch. So double crochet and then a chain 1 and then another double crochet right into that same stitch. So in between each V we chain 1 and we skip 1. So here's the one that we're chaining and we're skipping 1, and we're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to chain 1 and a double crochet into this same stitch. And we're just going to keep repeating this all the way across. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the stitch. Oh, going a little slow here. Chain 1, another double crochet into that same stitch. Chain 1, and when we get to our last stitch we're just going to do 1 double crochet into it, and that is the end of that row. Okay, I made my chain a little bit tight, so there's a little bit of a curve there. It seems like no matter how hard I try, my starting chain is always just a little bit tight. Okay, so now it's time to start our second row. And we're going to start that by chaining up 2. That is going to give us the height of our double crochet. But now remember, we have to chain 1 more because we have to skip a stitch in between each one. So I'm going to chain 1 more. And then I'm going to work into the top part of the V, that chain 1 space. So we're going to do our double crochet into that chain 1 space. And another chain 1 and right back in again, double crochet into that chain 1 space. And it's really the same process as before. We're just going to chain 1 and then we're going to double crochet into the chain 1 space, chain 1, double crochet into the chain 1 space. Then we chain 1 in between each V, and we go right into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, double crochet into the chain 1 space. I think you see where this is going. And we work our way across in that same manner. Always when we get to the end, there is just 1 double crochet though. Some people choose to do this last double crochet into the chain 1 space, and some people and some people choose to do it into the actual chain, the actual stitch. So this time I'm going to do it into the chain 1 space. And the next round I'll actually build it into the stitch so you can see. So I've come to the end, I've chained 2, turn my work, and I'm going to chain that one more for my space. And here we go again, the same thing. And the one thing that I really, really love about the V-stitch, especially if you're making like an Afghan with it, is it just flies by. It is such a quick, easy whip. I love, love the V-stitch. And if you double up yarn using two different colors, it really makes a neat effect. At the end of the video, I'll show you a blanket that I made using double-stranded V-stitches. Really a heavy blanket too. Keep nice and warm with that one. Okay, so we're just going to continue this row till we get to the end. And remember, at the end, you just do the one double crochet. If you did a V-stitch at the end of every row, it would get bigger and bigger and bigger, or wider rather. So now I'm going to try to work right into the chain. I don't really see too much difference, to be honest with you, but it is a lot easier to work into a chain one space than it is to work into the actual stitch. So, okay, so I tend to start my chain stitches a little tight, which is why it's got a little curve to it. But if you were doing a blanket, this would just stretch itself right out, so it's not really anything we need to worry about. So this is the blanket I was talking about. It was a scrappy blanket, so that's why I chose to use double strands, but I really like the effect.